They said Filipinos don't speak real English. They said our accents were strange, our words were borrowed, our grammar a little too flexible. They laughed at how we said, "Open the light," or "Fill up the form." They mocked our call center agents, our vloggers, our teachers who spoke with that familiar Filipino rhythm in their voice. But what if the way we speak isn't wrong? What if, just maybe, the English spoken by millions of Filipinos every day isn't broken? It's brilliant? It all begins with a question. Who gets to decide what real English sounds like? Is it the British, with their centuries-old accent that even they can't agree on among themselves? Is it the Americans, whose regional accents stretch from the southern drawl to the clipped tones of New England? Or could it be that English, like people, evolves wherever it goes, and that the Philippines has simply given it a new, living form? For over a century, English has been part of Filipino identity. It wasn't just a subject in school. It was a tool for survival, for progress, for power. During the American occupation, English was introduced as the language of education, government, and business. By the time the Americans left, we had not only learned it, we had transformed it. We took a foreign tongue and made it sound like home. We bent its rules to fit our humor, our warmth, our culture. We didn't copy it, we Filipinized it. And yet, despite our mastery, the world often looked down on us. In job interviews, our accent became a reason for rejection. On social media, our pronunciation became a punchline. Even in our own schools, students were corrected for speaking Taglish, as if fluency must mean forgetting who we are. But then came a voice from the very place where proper English supposedly lived, Harvard University. A Harvard linguistics professor, invited to a global conference on language and identity, was asked about broken English. Someone in the audience, an American, asked why so many Filipinos can't seem to speak proper English. The professor paused, looked up, and said something no one expected. They speak real English. You just don't recognize it because it isn't yours. The room fell silent. He went on to explain that English is not one language. It's a global tapestry of dialects, accents, and forms shaped by history and culture. There is British English, American English, Australian English, and yes, Philippine English. It has its own rhythm, its own vocabulary, and its own grammar patterns that have developed through generations of consistent use. It's not a mistake. It's a legitimate, recognized variety of English. And here's the twist. Linguists around the world have known this for years. Philippine English has been studied, documented, and respected in academic circles since the 1980s. It's even included in global linguistic databases and dictionaries. The Oxford English Dictionary has words like presidentiable, comfort room, and salvage in the Filipino sense, all part of our English identity. So why do so many people, even Filipinos themselves, still think our English is wrong? Maybe because we've been told to believe that real English belongs to someone else, that fluency is only valid when it sounds foreign, that our accent is something to hide, not something to be proud of. But think about this. When a Filipino nurse in London communicates with a patient, when a teacher in Cebu explains a lesson, when a call center agent in Quezon City handles a customer from New York, all in English, who is really bridging the world's communication gap? Isn't that the truest form of mastery? The Harvard professor later said something even more powerful in a follow-up interview. He said, "If language reflects culture, then Philippine English is proof that Filipinos have mastered the art of adaptation." He described it as flexible, polite, creative, and deeply expressive. When a Filipino says, "Kindly wait a moment," he said, it's not just about grammar. It's about respect. It's cultural English, not broken English. But that statement sparked a question that hit deep. Why do we still doubt ourselves? Why do we still apologize for the way we sound? Why do we switch accents the moment a foreigner enters the room? Is it insecurity, or is it the remnants of colonial thinking? The truth is, language has always been tied to power. For centuries, the English of the West dominated schools, media, and global business. To sound native was to sound educated, capable, superior. But the world is changing. Today, more people speak English as a second language than as a first. That means English no longer belongs to one country. It belongs to everyone who uses it to express their truth, and that includes Filipinos. So what exactly makes Philippine English unique? It's the warmth in the tone, the politeness embedded in every po and opo. It's the humor that makes even serious topics sound light. It's the hybrid phrases that only we could have created, like aircon, comfort room, traffic, and open the light. Linguists call this innovation. We call it normal, and every time we speak it, we add another brushstroke to the living canvas of global English. Here's something that might surprise you. Many American companies now train their employees to understand Philippine English because it's so widely used in international customer service. Universities abroad study how Filipinos have localized the language without losing its global function. Some even say that the future of English lies not in London or New York, but in Manila, where millions speak it every single day. And yet, the stigma lingers. A viral video once mocked a Filipino news anchor for mispronouncing a foreign name. The comments section was brutal. "That's not how you say it!" They laughed. But what most people missed is that the anchor was doing her job in her own accent, in her own voice, communicating to millions of Filipinos who understood her perfectly. Isn't that what language is for? To connect, not divide? The Harvard professor later responded to that viral trend. He said, "Mocking accents is mocking identity." Every accent tells a story of geography, of upbringing, of belonging. The Filipino accent, he said, tells the story of resilience, of a people who learned a foreign language, reshaped it, and made it sing. So, let's ask the hard question. If the Philippines is one of the largest English-speaking nations in the world, why do we still seek validation from the West? Why do we still measure our fluency by their standards? When a Filipino student debates fluently in English, when an OFW negotiates contracts abroad, when our BPO industry drives billions into the economy, shouldn't that be proof enough? The Harvard professor ended his speech with a line that deserves to be remembered. English doesn't have one home anymore. It lives wherever people use it with meaning, and the Philippines is one of its homes. Think about that. The Philippines isn't just using English, it's shaping the future of it. So the next time someone says, "Filipinos don't speak real English," ask them, what makes English real? Is it the accent? The grammar? Or the ability to connect people across oceans and cultures? Because if communication is the measure, then Filipinos speak some of the realest English there is. And maybe, just maybe, it's time we stopped apologizing for our voices. Maybe it's time we celebrated them. Imagine this: a world where every Filipino speaks freely in their own accent, proudly and confidently, where our movies, podcasts, and classrooms echo with the sound of Filipino English, where Taglish isn't a flaw, it's a flex. A world where no one corrects you for saying, "Take a picture of me," instead of "Take my picture." Because both are perfectly understood. Because both are perfectly Filipino. But here's the real twist. Even the so-called native speakers don't always speak perfect English. They have slang, regionalisms, and grammar quirks of their own. The difference? They never apologize for it. So why should we? In fact, English has always evolved through the people who used it most passionately. Shakespeare bent grammar rules. Americans dropped the U from color. Australians invented new words entirely. And Filipinos? We made English sound like home. We filled it with our humor, our respect, our emotion. We made it sing in jeepneys, echo in classrooms, and flow in call center halls at 2 a.m. That's not broken English. That's living English. Now think about this. Every time a Filipino child recites an English poem, every time a student delivers a speech, every time a family watches a Hollywood movie without subtitles, they're proving that English has no borders. It's not a measure of intelligence. It's a bridge of understanding. And the Philippines has become one of the strongest pillars holding that bridge up. But here's the cliffhanger. What if the next generation decides to take it even further? What if Filipino English becomes the global model of polite, adaptable communication? What if someday foreigners start learning our version of English to work with us? It's not impossible. The trend is already beginning. Global companies now reference Philippine English in their communication guides. Linguists predict that by the end of the century, neutral English might sound more Filipino than British. Crazy? Maybe. But then again, so was the idea of a small Southeast Asian nation becoming one of the top English-speaking countries on Earth. And look where we are now. So what do you think? Is English still theirs, or is it ours too? Should we keep trying to sound like someone else, or finally embrace the way we speak as uniquely Filipino? The answer is up to us. If you believe that Filipino English is real, valid, and powerful, hit that like button right now. Share this video with every Filipino who's ever been told their accent isn't good enough. Let's make this message louder than the mockery, stronger than the doubt. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more stories that challenge the way we see ourselves and the world. Because language isn't just about speaking, it's about believing. And once we start believing that our English is real, the rest of the world will have no choice but to believe it too.